Okay, well, welcome. We're going to go around the room, and as we introduce commissioners, we'll use that as our way to officially call roll and establish quorum. I believe we have quorum, but we'll use that as our way to call roll. And we're going to start on this side. I know this is your first meeting.
So I was on a panel at OCCY the other day, and I got stuck in the front seat again, and Annette and all the other more seasoned people picked all the other chairs. So it feels like I'm getting this first chair hazing where I have to try to be brilliant in my first.
We did that on purpose.
Can I just say here is that
Sure,
the new director of the Office of Juvenile Affairs, Timothy Tardybone. I'm really excited to be here.
Welcome.
Jeffrey Cartmel, new-ish director of Oklahoma Human Services.
Melinda Front, Director of Department of Rehab Services.
Jennery Harrington. I am the appointed commissioner for residential and child placing agencies.
T3, Commissioner of Health, Oklahoma State Department of Health.
Jason Hicks, District Attorney from the 6th District, and I'm the DA's representative on the board.
Jacqueline Aaron representing CASA.
Mike Warren, I represent the Supreme Court, and I chair the Juvenile Justice Oversight Advisory Committee.
Kaylee Kurth, I'm a representative for PARB as a foster and adoptive parent.
Okay, I'm John Schneider, representing the Oklahoma Association of Youth Services. And thank you all for being here and making the trip in. I know takes a little bit of time and we appreciate it. We have quorum?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to recognize, thank you, Sandra Bowser for being here, our Assistant Attorney General. Any other guests in the room or online, I'm sorry. Do we have commissioners online? May not today.
May not.
Okay, all right, well, we got everybody in person, that's fantastic. Okay, next on the agenda is agenda item number 2, public comment, and I believe we have one person signed up for public comment. And so do we have Richard Desiree in the room or online? No? Okay, all right, well, will anybody else sign up for public comment? Rob? Okay, all right, we will move on to agenda item number 3, review of the minutes from the September 13th, 2024 commission meeting. And I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Who seconded? Judge Warren. No, seconded.
Oh, Jackie Aaron.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Aaron?
Yes.
Director Cartmel?
Yes.
Director Front?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington?
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Abstain.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
Commissioner Tardybone?
Abstain.
Judge Warren?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 4. Always excited about this one. We're going to have a presentation by the OCCY Parent Partnership Board, and I will welcome up Sunny Jamerson. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
So I'm Sunny, I'm with the Parent Partnership Board for OCCY. So I just wanted to go over some of the highlights that our Partnership Board has been working on from October to November. Here. Read the background stuff. All right, so the OCCY Parent Partnership Board is actively engaged in numerous initiatives to advise child-serving agencies and advocate for families and children across Oklahoma, from participating in conferences, presenting on panels, and organizing community meetings and workshops. Parent Partnership Board members have demonstrated their unwavering commitment to enhancing family well-being and promoting effective parent leadership. Their efforts have not only brought awareness to critical issues, but also provided tangible support resources to those in need, embodying the core values of OCCY and making a significant impact. OCCY Parent Partnership Board members Mitch Sutter, Amber Adams, Demetrius Mayhew, along with OCCY staff, attended the Mental Health America Conference in Washington, D.C. from September 18th to the 21st. The conference centered on strategies to disrupt systemic barriers, reform harmful practices, and transform the mental health landscape to promote equitable access to mental health and well-being for all. During the October Parent Partnership Board meeting, attendees shared valuable insights and key takeaways from the conference, enriching the broader discussion among Parent Partnership Board members and how to apply these concepts to ongoing efforts of the board. On October 1st, OCCY Parent Partnership Board member James Ray presented at House Interim Study 24-043, requested by Representative Daniel Kay to discuss community support for reducing the number of children in care. Over the past year, James has served on the Oklahoma Ending the Need for Group Placement Co-Design team, which brought together youth, families, and experts to identify ways to improve child welfare in Oklahoma. In collaboration with the Oklahoma Human Services team, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and others, and the team shared recommendations from cross-system efforts to prioritize children and families. PPB member Wayana Montgomery was one of our 4 keynote speakers for the 2024 Women in Leadership Symposium, celebrating women courageously confident, hosted by Southern Missouri University on October 5th. The SNU Women in Leadership Symposium is all for who are interested in learning about leadership, developing their leadership attributes and competencies, and seeking opportunities to connect with other leaders. At the 2024 Oklahoma Primary Care Association Conference, PPB member Mitch Sutter shared his personal experience during a session on consumer voice and trauma-informed integrated care. His powerful testimony highlighted the importance of incorporating real-life experiences in improving trauma-informed care practices statewide. OCCY hosted the Children's Trust Fund Alliance, bringing the Protective Factors framework to living your work, training of trainers, it's long, October 8th through the 10th. The training is grounded in the Strengthening Families Protective Factors framework. Is intended for individuals who want to train and facilitate gatherings to help families build protective factors that create strong families, promote optimal child development, and reduce the likelihood of child abuse and neglect. 23 participants representing 17 partner agencies from across the state completed the training and are Alliance certified trainers. James Ray participated in the 9th biannual Strengthening Families Together collaborative convening October 15th. This was convened by OCCY, OHS, and the Oklahoma State Department of Education. The effect brought together community leaders and service providers working to support families in Oklahoma. Keynote speaker Bobby Taylor shared an inspiring talk called Commitment to the Long Haul, highlighting the need for teamwork between system leaders and families with lived experiences. Attendees participated in activities including writing letters to a child, expressing their hopes for future generations during lived experience continuum roundtable. Participants discussed effective ways to partner with parents and youth. Together, they look for new ideas to improve community engagement and better support families. James Ray's been busy, if you haven't noticed. He is also partnered with OCCY's Tulsa Post Adjudication Review Board to co-design the bi-monthly PARB Bio-Parent Voice Series panel. This initiative launched on October 22nd with an impactful kickoff event where James also served as a panelist, sharing his personal experience with reunification programs. The panel series is designed to bring much needed attention to the perspectives of birth parents, voices often underrepresented in foster care discussions. By fostering a platform for open dialogue, the series aims to generate informed, actionable recommendations for the court, supporting our commitment to providing the highest level of care for youth we serve. Future panels will continue to delve into critical topics with themes announced in advance to guide these meaningful conversations. On October 22nd, OCCY held 2 informational meetings to recruit new Parent Partnership Board members for the 2025-2027 term. Current Parent Partnership Board members Delina Sullivan and Mitch Sutter participated, sharing their experiences as board members, and aspiring attendees to get involved. Through their testimonials, they highlighted the importance of pursuing systematic changes to improve support systems across the state. OCCY has a total of 20 applications and is currently interviewing applicants. On November 6th, James Ray participated in the Homeless Children and Youth Steering Committee Strategic Summit. This planning session provided an opportunity for collaborative efforts to advance the OCCY Homeless Children and Youth Steering Committee's initiatives. This cross-sector gathering united diverse voices from across the state to develop innovative solutions and establish a 2-year strategic plan aimed at supporting homeless children and youth. On November 7th, the OCCY and Oklahoma State Department of Health Office of Family Support and Navigation held the final Oklahoma Community of Practice Developing and Sustain Effective Parent Advisory Committees meeting of 2024 calendar year. During this session, members from the Office of Juvenile Affairs shared insights from their work with the agency's Family Advisory Committee and highlighted their ongoing family engagement efforts. The meeting saw in attendance of 23 members who participated in a group activity focused on developing family engagement toolkit. With the support of the Oklahoma Partnership for School Readiness Preschool Development Grant, OCCY sponsored 4 parent leaders from the Oklahoma Family Network, PARB and PPB to attend the National Federation of Families Conference in Orlando, Florida on November the 7th through the 9th. For the past 35 years, the National Federation of Family Annual Conference has brought together families, parents, and community leaders, providers, partners, and legislators to leverage lived experience and practical solutions. This collaborative event aims to support and advance families impacted by mental health and/or substance use challenges throughout their children's lives. I'll actually circle back around to that because that's kind of related to my story because I was at that conference. And I'm going to skip the next bullet too because that's related to it. OCCY Commissioner John Schneider, agency staff and PPB members Delia Sullivan, James Ray, Lana Turner Addison, and Betty Hopkins Emery attended the 2024 CTFA annual membership meeting in Phoenix, Arizona from November 12th to the 14th. The annual meeting featured dynamic speakers who shared cutting edge information and expanded their thinking about how to move ahead in ways that will help them best support families and their children and help build thriving and resilient communities. So that's just a lot, not a little, of what the Parent Partnership Board has been working on over the last couple of months. All right, so why am I here? As I just told you, I was at the National Federation of Families Conference this year. This is my second year to go, and I love it so much because it's right in line with what I do professionally, as well as why I decided to join the Parent Partnership Board, which was helping strengthen families, especially those impacted by substance abuse or addiction. While I was there on the very last day, Dr. Stephen Lloyd, do you guys know who that is? You're shaking your head. Yes. Have you ever seen the docuseries on Hulu called Dope Sick? Starred Michael Keaton. Yes, no, maybe so you should watch it. So the doctor represented in that docuseries is Dr. Stephen Lloyd. He's a pretty prominent physician on the eastern side of the United States who found himself addicted to opioids. I have heard Dr. Lloyd speak. He was at the last conference, but this conference was a little bit different to the point where it kind of changed the way that I told my story and why I'm part of the Parent Partnership Board. So I even gave it a name. I spent a lot of time on this last night because I want to make sure I respect your time and not go over. So I wrote it all down. But I actually gave my story a name because when I heard him for the second time, it was like I was hearing him for the first time. And what he said was exactly why I chose to be a part of this membership board, as well as do the other advocacy work that I'm involved in. So my story is called My Experience with an Uneven Playing Field. So you're probably asking yourselves, what uneven playing field? Right. Sorry, my mouth is really dry today. I'm talking about the uneven playing field that is substance abuse treatment, not only in this state, but in this country. I have always been aware and have held true of the idea, you get what you pay for. However, it wasn't until I went to the National Federation of Families Conference a couple weeks ago that I fully understand how that idea affected me in my own journey. On the last day of the conference, the keynote speaker was Dr. Stephen Lloyd. I saw his presentation, like I said, last year in Chicago, but this year, it was like I was hearing that presentation for the very first time. My ears perked up when he spoke about the uneven playing field of substance abuse treatment. He said that there are actually two systems of care that people enter into. Dr. Lloyd was and still is a prominent doctor who became addicted to opiates. Because of his status in society, he entered a system of care that afforded him the best doctors, nurses, therapists, food, clothing, bedding, you name it, the best that money can buy. The other thing that Dr. Lloyd has was time. Dr. Lloyd stated that he had this revelation of 2 systems of care while working in his own clinic with low-income women with opioid use disorder, which he has in Tennessee, but he also does work in West Virginia. Although I'm not a doctor, my story shares a lot of similarities with Dr. Lloyd's. I too entered a system of care that is significantly different than the system of care many Oklahomans enter when seeking substance abuse treatment. I'm a 2014 graduate of the Remerge program. If you're not familiar with Remerge, Remerge is a pathway from others to be restored to our community rather than incarcerated and separated from their children. It officially launched in 2011, and it was founded on the collective impact model and designed around comprehensive programming and support. Since 2011, you'll find us all on their website if you're not familiar with Remerge, but since 2011, Remerge has graduated 206 women who parent a total of 500 minor children. I am one of those graduates. My daughter is one of those children. I was the 11th mother to walk into the Remerge program. So very brand new. In 2012, we're kind of hanging out in the basement of North Care's old building. That's now Palomar. That's where it all started for me. It wasn't until yesterday that I learned what a collective impact model was. I had to Google that. So for those of you who are here with us who don't know what a collective impact model is, it is commitment of a group of actors from different sectors to a common agenda for solving a specific social problem using a structured form of collaboration. If I was to define that program, that's exactly what it was for me. Where my story and Dr. Lloyd's differ slightly is that Remerge is a donor and grant run program. I may not have had the best money could buy, but I did have what was access to opportunities at my fingertips. Like literally within rooms I could go to and talk to people. The access I had was employment and legal specialists. You know, they partnered with Legal Aid, also with Workforce Ready, Workforce Oklahoma. I had access to housing. They paid for my sober living while I was in that program. Food, clothing. As soon as they got me out of jail, they took me straight to Walmart. All I had was the clothes on my back. And I was able to get new clothes, get food, and bedding for my sober living. They also gave me educational and personal growth opportunities. I found my way to the Parent Partnership Board. I don't know if you guys knew who Adrienne Elder is, because she did a program there at Remerge called Getting Ahead. And I've stayed kind of with Andrea, she's done this, and worked with her outside of Remerge after I graduated, and she actually recommended me for the Parent Partnership Board. As the program has grown, you know, it's now been around for 13 years. Today's participants now have so much more than what I had, but I still consider what I have way more than what current Oklahomans get in traditional residential treatment. Like Dr. Lloyd, I had time. I had 18 months, in fact, to complete that program. I had time to reap the full benefits of all that was offered to me in addition to the substance abuse treatment. Like traditional residential treatment services that are paid for by the state or Medicaid, I was in treatment services Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was essentially residential treatment, but I went to sober living after the day was over that Remerge paid for. But unlike Remerge, these treatment facilities often operate with a small staff and have limited to no access to the same resources and opportunities that I had. Even if these state programs had access, there is very little time for clients to reap the full benefits while they're in treatment. There was a time in the state where we offered 6, 9, or even 12 months of residential treatment. Currently, especially since Medicaid or managed care has come online since April, the average length of stay is about 45 to 60 days. Do you know how long it takes for the brain to start healing itself after chronic addiction? At least 90 days. For some, for many, it takes longer. One could argue that Remerge is a specific program for a specific population and privately funded. My argument is, why can't that state-funded programs like Remerge serve the entire population? I work for an agency who provides residential treatment, and I'm always asking myself, why can't my clients have the same thing I have? Why can't they enter the same system that I entered instead of this one? Is it money? One of the things I love about Dr. Lloyd is that he was so gracious to spend 30 minutes after his session at the conference to have a breakout session for us to ask any questions that we had. My intention was to ask, how do I hack managed care? How do I beat the system? And in speaking with him, you know, and the strategies and like, how do I help these families? How do I get around these barriers? And one of the things that he told me is that state leadership wants to see and hear about the numbers. So here are the numbers for you. Although Remerge functions on grants and community donors, they still have saved the state more than $51 million in the past 13 years. In addition to these savings, the state got me. I am a productive tax-paying community member. Since graduating from the Remerge program, I've been able to actualize all the dreams I thought were gone because of my addiction. I completed my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree. I've been gainfully employed for 8 years at the same agency. I'm currently an LPC candidate and about to be a dual license candidate. I'm the chair. I'm an OCCY parent partnership member, as you know. I've been the chair of the Substance Abuse Prevention Alliance for the past 6 years. And just last week, which is on your agenda item for parent partnership for our staff, I was named DECA of Oklahoma's Prevention Champion of the Year, the very first award they've ever given here in the state of Oklahoma. I get to travel. Took my kiddo to see Bruno Mars in Vegas last summer. I'm a color guard mom, and let me tell you, that's hard. I feel like she tricked me.
Sure.
But more importantly, I'm a present mom. I get to be with my baby every day. I stand here with confidence to say that yes, my hard work has gotten me where I am today. But I also know that it's because of what Remerge provided for me in the very beginning. Top-notch care. I am often asked if I hadn't entered Remerge, would I still be where I am today? My usual answer is I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about that question since I heard Dr. Lloyd speak again. My answer now is in fact no. But now I have questions. Since 2011, roughly 206 women from my community have received access to the same system of care that I did. What about the 10 to 20,000 of others in the state who enter treatment each year? If the playing field was even, how many more me's could be in this room? How can I help even the playing field? The next question is for you, and I would like to ask you to take out a piece of paper, if you don't mind. And on that piece of paper, I want you to write down one thing your agency can do to help to level the playing field for all Oklahomans. And I'll give you a few seconds to do that. One quick thing. Now that you've written it down, even if you haven't, you're at least thinking about it. My last question is this: how can I and the other parent partnership board members help you even the playing field? I appreciate you all taking the time to hear my little story. I know that you guys were busy. I will open it up for questions, but before I do, I want to end with this. What you all do matters. The impact that you're already making in the lives of Oklahoma families matters. You do amazing work, and sometimes that work is hard. Believe me. But think about it. How much bigger could that impact grow if we, the OCCY parent partnership board members, and you work together? How much bigger can we grow that impact? Again, I thank you for allowing me to speak and tell my story. Anyone have any questions?
Can I get your contact information?
Absolutely.
Comment. So at the end, you said, thank you for letting me share my little story, and that's not a small story, that is huge. what you've done and the courage you've had along the way is huge. And what you're doing now to work with the Parent Partnership Board to find solutions and encourage us to be a part of bettering the system for children, youth, and families. I mean, that's huge. And so it's not a little story, that's big. And I really appreciate your work in that space and your courage to come up here and the preparation you've done to highlight the work that's being done on the Parent Partnership Board with parent partners. I got to witness a very small piece of that at the conference you mentioned a couple weeks ago. And it's awesome to see parents who have been in the work that we're talking about to stand up and say, we want to work with what you're just saying. How can you all help us? How can we help you? How can we be in unity trying to find a solution? So thank you very much for your efforts and for representing the parent partners. Much appreciated. Have any other questions?
I have
Yes.
just a couple. I've missed, what is your current, where are you now in the LTC process? What agency are you in?
So I'm with Catalyst Behavioral Services. I'm currently working as their admissions coordinator, but I'll be slow. I should have already, let me just be real. It's been a process in transitioning down to a full-time therapist because of the position that I do have. But we just purchased the old property of George's Crossing. And so when we open fully, I will be a full-time therapist down there. And then I'll be submitting my LADC paperwork after Thanksgiving.
That is awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I do want to challenge the other commissioners, if you've not been to a remerge graduation, to go to one. My previous role, I worked closely with remerge. You just see Sunny's story replicated numerous times, seeing moms reunified with their children, them talking about what they're doing in the workforce. And so, in my previous role in Oklahoma County, I really looked at remerge and drug court and mental health court as workforce development programs, because we're putting people back into the workforce, productive, tax-paying citizens. And I know remerge, it's hard to capture what that value is back to the state. But they usually have 2 graduations a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. And the only thing I'll warn you about is make sure you bring Kleenex, because it is quite inspiring, just like your story was today. So thank you for coming.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank
All
you
right,
again.
thank you so much. Okay, next we will move on to agenda item number 5, presentation of the 2024 Ray Helfer Award. And I will turn it over to Teresa Raphael, who's the Executive Director of the Children's Alliance Trust Fund. Teresa, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you all so much for having me here. Good morning to you all. And what a treat to get to hear your story, Sunny. I'm inspired, as it sounds like everyone else is. And I really appreciate this opportunity to recognize another member in your community. And I'll tell you a little bit, if I may, about the Ray Helfer Award. I'm just curious, does anyone there know who Dr. Helfer was or what he represents? I didn't want to tell you what you already know, but he is an inspiration to us all even today. Dr. Helfer was a pediatrician, and he was based at Michigan State University, but he was one of the pioneers, one of the very first pioneers in recognizing that it is possible to prevent child abuse and neglect, that it isn't just an issue either for mental health or law enforcement. And in the early days, those were the 2 options mostly. Dr. Helfer was an expert pediatrician on helping children grow and thrive. And for example, for example, zoos around the country would contract with him so that when they had a primate with a new baby and they wanted to keep the baby healthy to be in the zoo, he would help them know how to support the mother primate to nurture and care for the baby so it could thrive. And it really bothered him that in that work, he saw primates getting a lot more support than moms who were going into hospitals, having babies, and going home in a day or two, usually at most, without much help and support. And he really believed that with help and support, moms and dads could create safe and healthy homes for their children. So he talked about how to recognize child abuse and neglect for pediatricians. And then he recognized that we could even step back and help prevent it. And he really covered the country on a lecture circuit. He was such a forward thinker. He was in demand as a speaker, but he also loved to go fishing. And one day he was buying his fishing license and he said to the clerk, "Where does this money go from the license?" And the clerk said, "Oh, it goes into a trust fund to keep our waterways safe and healthy for fish so that fishermen will always have a place to fish." And as he sat in his boat that day, so he told the story, he thought about, we have trust funds to keep our highways in good shape. We have trust funds to keep the waterways clean, but we don't have anything for our most precious resource, which is children in this country. And he developed the idea of trust funds for children and families, trust funds that would help provide those community supports that families need so much to be healthy and thrive. And he started talking about that as he went around the country, and it really made a lot of sense to people. So the first trust fund was developed in 1980. All of the trust funds around the country, and almost every state has one, are developed by state statute. So during the 1980s, there was a wave of interest and enthusiasm for developing trust funds. Today, the trust funds give out collectively a little over $300 million for community programs, statewide initiatives, work that will help strengthen and support families, and in the more recent years, work that helps promote the voices and expertise of parents who have had experience that can lend support to letting us know how to make systems more effective. So Dr. Helfer unfortunately passed away in 1992. He was quite beloved in many areas, certainly with the Children's Trust Funds, which had a very strong network by then, and with the American Academy of Pediatrics. He was very involved there in promoting his work and his message. And so the Children's Trust Fund Alliance is a national membership organization for state children's trust funds. And we and the American Academy of Pediatrics joined together to say every year, let's look around the country to see who exemplifies the wonderful work of Dr. Ray Helfer in partnership with a trust fund, the product of his imagination, and making a really positive difference and a powerful difference for children and families in their communities. The only ones who can nominate for this award are trust funds, because who would know better who's making that contribution? We see amazing nominations come in, and we're always grateful to receive them. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the Alliance join together in making the selection, and then every year we make this award. And we're so pleased this year to be able to join with you all today and present this award to Marnie Dunlap, Dr. Dunlap. I haven't met you yet, Dr. Dunlap. Would you raise your hand so I can see where you are in the room? Ah, hi. We were holding, and we did hold a reception at our national meeting last week in Arizona. And we had planned initially that we would present the award there in this reception that was set up to honor you, Dr. Dunlap. We know you had a really important prior commitment, and we understand and appreciate that. So we're really grateful to you all today to let us publicly honor Dr. Dunlap. And to thank Annette Jacoby for making this nomination. We were really thrilled to get it. And so Annette is going to be my partner in crime in presenting the award. And I will just say, Dr. Dunlap, if I could talk about you just a moment, that you're the professor of the section of general and community pediatrics and holder of the CHF James Paul Lynn Endowed Chair at the University of Oklahoma College of Medicine. And you've been a real leader in initiatives that help promote and advocate for children and families throughout Oklahoma and nationally. You'll have to get Dr. Dunlap to tell you about the Reach Out and Read program, where she's been so instrumental locally throughout the state and recognized nationally for her work. I wonder if Annette, if you would like to share some words and then we'll make the presentation.
You bet. I just want to say Oklahoma is fortunate to have such rich, wonderful, skilled professionals in this state. And I wish we had more and more opportunities to recognize them. Dr. Dunlap is a shining star. And she is our third Ray Helfer winner from the state of Oklahoma over the past 15, 20 years. Dr. Deborah Shropshire, we nominated her years ago, and she was a winner that year. We've also had Dr. Ed Rhodes from the State Department of Health with a long storied career there, and you're following in some big footsteps. I will say the reason we nominated you, there were 3 reasons. One is your extraordinary work on Reach Out and Read. And if you didn't know, she made sure she got them started in this state in 2001. She made sure they were in every OU clinic, including Dr. Shropshire's Fostering Hope Clinic, which was fantastic. But not only did she put it in there, but she wanted to make sure it worked. And she was most recently part of a multi-state research group that actually went to the long haul to make sure that this isn't a feel-good project, it is an effective project. And so I really appreciate you for that. Following in that same vein, I would say that she was instrumental in getting the Early Childhood Clearinghouse off the ground. So for those of you who are familiar with the Oklahoma Partnership for School Readiness upstairs on the 4th floor, Dr. Dunlap was very involved from the beginning and still is on multiple committees and work of that. That group has now given out over $9 million in grants. Fantastic, a huge prevention effort. But the one I'm the most excited about myself, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's the work that she's done with pediatric residents from the hospitals in Oklahoma to bring them together to help them become comfortable and confident advocates outside of a hospital or clinic setting. And to me, it's one thing to be a great advocate in your comfort zone. And I'm going to say, just like Sunny today, when you stretch and go into an arena that's not yours, and you show up and you say, this is so important, I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to learn this skill. And she has given them now a standardized tools and a curriculum so that they all work together and that they can go to the Capitol on kind of a practice day, maybe for like the Invest in Kids Day, and really practice those advocacy skills. And I think that's tremendous. Anytime somebody can take their own discipline and at least reach into another and try to make a difference, I think that's huge. And that's so innovative. That's so innovative. And I just cannot thank you enough for all your leadership. She is often in meetings virtually with scrubs and a mask or whatever, and she's running it and she zooms in and then she goes back to clinic. So I can't thank you enough for all the time and energy you put into multiple issues. You're truly a trailblazer and we're lucky to have you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, we need to give you this really heavy award. As soon as John picks it up, he's gonna put fingerprints on it, but I know, it's okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Oh.
1, 2, 3.
smiling. Let's get some good ones.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. It was an unexpected surprise, so thank you very much to the Children's Trust Fund, and thank you, Annette,
You're
for
welcome.
nominating me.
Always.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
That you'll see the photo of Dr. Helfer on the award, and there's
Yes.
small 2-year-old with him. That's his son. I always enjoy thinking about him there with his son. And we actually had the opportunity to meet his son a few years ago. Every year the trust funds come together, and his son lives and works in England, but came and joined us and was just a lovely person. So
All right, well, Teresa, thank you so much for being here and taking your time and for your wonderful presentation. We appreciate you.
thank you all. Thank you for the nomination and for this time, and congratulations, Dr. Dunlap.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna move things around on the agenda just a little bit and move on to agenda item number 12, which is update on the Oklahoma Institute on Child Advocacy Fall Forum, and I'll welcome up Joe Dorman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for coming.
Rob's running out. Thank you. So this is a report from our fall forum, which finished yesterday. This was our 34th annual OICA Fall Forum. This conference is designed to bring together advocates from across the state, from different organizations, different backgrounds, to share ideas that will be used to formulate our legislative agenda. You'll go to the next slide.
Thanks, there you go.
We're gonna have to fly through this pretty quickly. Yeah, skip this stuff. I have a finance committee at 10:30, so you'll see the 4 pillars that were the main topics for our legislative agenda. Support programs and services for foster families and biological parents, guardians, accessibility to health-related services and programs, learning loss, educational opportunities for children, and addressing child care needs.
Next slide.
What I will do is I will just email this. If you'll just click through this really quickly, I'll email this to Annette and she could share this with you all. Just not so quickly. These were some of the topics that were considered by the different advocates. We had nearly 100 advocates present on each of the 4 days. The first day was a brainstorm. You can keep going through it. The advocates were convened on Zoom to share ideas, which were used to build a framework for the conversations over Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. Now, each of you commissioners that has a state agency under your charge, you're going to see some of these ideas will fall under the scope of your agencies. We certainly want to try and set up meetings before the session begins, preferably even before December 6th, before the bill filing deadline by lawmakers, to come up with what needs you might face. OICA is there not only to represent children, but children's organizations, and we consider youth serving state agencies in that mission. While you cannot lobby yourselves, we can lobby. And that's what part of our founding organizational members decided we should be there to try and assist every facet of child serving entities in the state in a way that we can see the best possible solutions through laws and policies. I'm almost done. There's my hook to come off this stage. Keep going. And this was a list of the sponsors. I want to thank our sponsors that helped make this conference possible. I want to thank the attendees. I know some of you in the room were attendees for the conference. We appreciate you being there. The document you just saw, the notes on that are going to go to our board of directors, and they will vote this next week to shape our legislative agenda, which will then be sent to the lawmakers. We have several bills filed. I know there are several points on your own agenda that will present ideas for consideration to lawmakers for improving services, and those align with what I have seen so far with our legislative agenda. So we look forward to working closely with you. As I said before, state agencies traditionally can't lobby, and that's why we're here to help you all out. So please get with me, and we'll try and figure out ways that we can improve the lives of children in the 2025 legislative session. I'm optimistic. We have a brand new leadership team. Governor Stitt is going into his final 2 years. I know he has an aggressive agenda. He commissioned a task force on the first day of his second term of office that was very aggressive, very robust, and very pricey. And we're going to try and encourage lawmakers to take up more of that. Would invite each of you, and I'm sure I will see you before then, but in March is our advocacy day at the Capitol. We set this organizational day up for different programs to come set up a table, cook a pot of chili in the parking lot, and use that to network with lawmakers. The lawmakers are judges as well as members of the court. And so this gives those lawmakers an opportunity to come by and visit with each organization, to learn more about them. And I know Commissioner Aaron is a big fan of my chili cooking. I keep a bowl back for her every time I make some when we have it here at the office. It's a fun day, and it's a friendly way to interact with the lawmakers. So I would encourage you all to take part in that. It's always on the deadline week for the first main deadline for bills changing from one house to the other. So it'll be the middle of March. So I will send more out on that as it gets closer. If you have any questions for me, I think I have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Questions?
Yes, Commissioner.
Director, I'm with Department of Rehab Services. There was 2 questions is, we have superintendent for schools blind and deaf. So I would like for them to review this and give input into this. You want that before December 6th? Or,
the input
I know
period
that's
was
the-
this week.
oh, it was,
Yes.
okay.
Attendance of our fall forum is when input happens.
Okay,
My
okay.
board now has the final
So what are
say.
you asking us to do with this then, I guess is
This is
my,
purely informational.
okay, got it, okay. And then I had a question on that very, not the previous slide, but the one before that. It was to, can they roll back? It was to have the executive director of OCCY initiate an investigation. What would that be on?
Director Jacoby, you want to address that? That was a part of y'all's agenda.
Just curious.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that in our legislative
Okay.
deal, but quickly. In our statute, it says we can transfer a case to OSBI, but OSBI has their own statute that says who can do that, or who can request an investigation. We're not listed there. We're asking for that to be reconciled one way or the other.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
So you do have points that you would like included. I'm certainly happy to present them to my board before they vote on this.
Because a lot of those issues they deal with, secondarily through because we're residential and, yeah, so, okay, thank you.
All right. Chairman, commissioners, thank you all very much for the work that you do. We love working with you. As you know, our organizations were created at the same time because of the Terry D lawsuit. And as I said, we get to do a lot of things that you all can't do. So we love working hand in hand with you, and we appreciate your service.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for putting on a good fall forum. Okay, next on the agenda, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, presentation and approval of the state plan for prevention of child abuse and neglect. And I will turn it over to Susie Gibson.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Susie Gibson. I'm the program manager for the Office of Child Abuse Prevention in the Oklahoma State Department of Health. And I am here today to present the state plan for the prevention of child abuse and neglect. And thank you, that's helpful. So can we get that in presentation mode?
Ellen, are you sharing that online?
Yeah, that little thing
There we
there.
go.
Okay, so first of all, the Office of Child Abuse Prevention is in the Oklahoma Statute Title 63. And our office is charged to prepare and implement the state plan. We monitor, evaluate, and review the development and quality of services for the programs that we run for prevention. And we also publish and distribute an annual report of its findings. And I will try to make this as exciting as the previous presentations, if I can, and make this as most interesting. Next slide, please. Oh, wait, I have the clicker. See? So let me tell you a little bit about our prevention programs in the Office of Child Abuse Prevention. Our first program is Parents as Teachers. This is a home visiting program that serves, it's universal access. It serves families prenatal all the way through kindergarten completion. So families may enroll in the program at any time during that age frame. We also have the Family Resource Centers, which is a fairly new initiative in the State Department of Health. And the Family Resource Centers is a hub that families can go to obtain services. Sunny, you described Remerge. It's really the same thing. And it's just labeling that as a family resource center where a parent can go in and say, this is what I need. And that navigator is able to connect that family with the needed resources. We also have the Oklahoma Family Support Network. And that is a network where all of the family resource centers can be a part of that and to be able to share resources, strengthen efforts around supporting families. So as you can see on the map, all of the colored counties is where we are right now. We just got a new agency on board, Marie Detty in Comanche County. So that is our newest Parents as Teachers, and they are also interested in becoming a family resource center. And right now we have contracts with Parent Child Center of Tulsa, Center for Children and Families, and Parent Promise as family resource centers, as well as partnering with Potts Family Foundation for the Know and Grow Family Resource Centers. Next slide, please. It's in my hand. Please remind me that every time I need to change a slide. That's okay. I got it now. So just a little statistical data here. This shows the counties that we serve, the affiliates that serve those particular counties, and the number of reports accepted for investigation for child abuse and or neglect from the Kids Count Data Center. PAT serves 27 counties, and the state of Oklahoma has 33,000 reports accepted for investigation. So just an overview of child maltreatment. The youngest children are the most vulnerable to child maltreatment. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys already know all of this, but this is a little bit that you will find in the state plan that's an overview piece. Children living in poverty experience more abuse and neglect, and child maltreatment is costly. So can't see all the way that far, so I'm gonna have to look over here. So you will see, this is some Oklahoma statistics, the number of children that are victims and the rate per 1,000 children from 2018 to 2022. Oklahoma has one of the highest child maltreatment rates. In fiscal year 2022, 2,063 children younger than age 1 were maltreatment victims with a 43.2 rate of maltreatment, made up 15%, 15.2%. Oh, I got an extra percent in there of all victims. Sorry about that, it's a little typo. 48% of children maltreatment victims are younger than age 6. Here's some more data to back up why we need a state plan for the prevention of child abuse and neglect. So where we started is we said, we really want some community involvement here to determine what the community is looking for when putting together the state plan. What are the needs of the families and the communities? So we did a survey and we put it out, and it was administered in English and Spanish. And we received responses from all 77 counties, which is a feat in itself. So we really did a lot of media coverage around this. We really pulled in our partners to help distribute this. And we also held community cafes, and we were able to get qualitative data from parents and professionals, including Miss Isabel over here did our Spanish language cafe with our families. And so we were able to engage those families, and we were able to ask them, what do you need in your communities? What do you want? What's missing? What's working? Okay, we were able to improve knowledge and training for both parents and professionals. They wanted investment in infrastructure, including effective program and services, use a prevention approach and mindset, and prioritize prevention efforts at the local community level. So the most noticeable cross-cutting result of both the survey and the community cafe, and we had a wonderful data person on our staff that put everything together to show us this big picture of what's happening.
Our screen is not being shared. Can we stop for a moment to
Yes,
share it?
I don't know.
It's not being shown. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
Some more hold music.
Anybody know the Jeopardy music? Number 6. Number 6, okay. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Technology is always a surprise every day. So, basically what we saw, the overarching thing that we saw, feedback from professionals and families, they said, we don't know how to access stuff. We know it's there. We know that we can go in the door, but then we get confused. There's too much paperwork. There's too many people that I'm directed to. We don't know how to find services that we can access, that are affordable and that are quality. So out of that, we were able to decide, okay, this is the direction we want to go with the state plans and identify our strategic areas. So we partnered with Oklahoma Human Services, Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth, and this was part of our survey. This is what guided us in what we were going to put in the state plan. I'm going backwards. That's why I'm stumbling over my words here. Okay, here's our strategic areas. So what we came up was infrastructure investment, alignment and coordination, family support and resource connection, public awareness and engagement, and community action and empowerment. And that is all in the state plan that you all have been provided with. So our strategic area number 1, infrastructure and investment, we had 2 goals that we set. Was secure funding. Of course, it's always funding, right? You got to have money to make these programs run, and invest in the family support and home visiting workforce. And so we're doing a lot of work around workforce development right now. Goal 2, alignment and coordination. Align and coordinate prevention efforts across systems and communities, and coordinate programs and services that lead to easier access of services for families. And since all of this came about, we've already started putting things in place for this. And it's really exciting with our family resource centers and our community health workers. We're really starting to tackle some of these goals already. Community action and empowerment, we have 4 goals there. Building local awareness, improve knowledge and understanding of Oklahoma communities, build community capacity through technical assistance, and use our nice CB CAP projects to lift up the prevention efforts that are happening across Oklahoma. Okay, next strategic area is family support and resource connection. So we had 4 goals established for that: strengthen economic supports and financial security for families, connect families and children to support resources, advance implementation of national standards of quality for family strengthening and support, and ensure parent leadership and family voice in child abuse prevention efforts. And then public awareness and engagement. So elevate policy and systemic solutions for prevention, widely disseminate effective evidence-based prevention results, empower parent and family voice, and sustain and expand public engagement initiatives. So I want to say those are all pretty broad, right? You're like, okay, how are you going to do all this? We have a plan. So our next steps is our actual implementation of these. So what we decided is that when you're writing a state plan, it can't be just a one and done thing, right? You can't just write the state plan, put it on the shelf and say, yay, I'm done. I'll present to OCCY, get it approved, and I can move on with my next project. That's not how we're treating this. This is going to be an ongoing effort, and the state plan is going to be the foundation to guide prevention efforts in Oklahoma. So number one, we're not trying to go out there and go, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. We're trying to go out there and say, what are you already doing? What efforts are already happening? Remerge, perfect example of prevention, right? Palomar, perfect example of prevention. So we're going to go out there and we're not just going to say we need to create all these new systems. We're going to say, let's enhance what's already happening. Let's strengthen what's already happening in our communities. Let's name it. Let's put it in the state plan, and let's commit to a goal. Okay. So all of these broad strategic areas that you see with the goals, we're going to start setting SMART goals where we're actually measuring what is being increased. For example, the Office of Child Abuse Prevention is part of the state obesity plan. And one of the things that we are in the plan for is we increase knowledge of or referrals to nutrition services such as WIC, food banks, things like that. And the other one is to increase physical activity with families. And so what we did is we used our lovely CBCAP money and we purchased physical activity equipment for families. And we had those drop shipped to each of our parents as teacher sites. They distributed those to families. We had pre-post and pre-test, post-test, pre-post test. And we're measuring, did their physical activity increase by getting this physical activity equipment? And so we're going to do the same thing with the state plan for the prevention of child abuse and neglect. We're actually going to say, hey, you're already doing this. How can we measure that and show that prevention is working in Oklahoma? So we have not got the media out on this yet, so don't panic. You haven't missed anything. But we are going to host a child abuse prevention state planning summit on January 31st from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock at the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. We're asking participants to come and pick a topic, pick a strategic area, say, I can invest in this, I can contribute to this. And then we're going to start forming our committees for the prevention, state plan for prevention of child abuse and neglect. And we're also going to have a panel, which we are partnering with the Potts Family Foundation to discuss advocacy for children, family-friendly policies, and the sustainability of services for children and families. So if you are interested in this, I will definitely get a listserv from Annette and get you on the email blast when that happens. And we're going to have this meeting. And we also have a one-pager that you were provided with a QR code on it. So if you are interested in participating in one of the committees that we are going to be forming, which we haven't formed yet, we're in the baby stages of it, you can scan that QR code and that will put you on our listserv as well. So is there any questions around the state plan? Yes.
I was impressed that you reached all 77 counties. I'm wondering how you did it.
I went on TV shows and I said, here's the QR code, please.
Where was the documentation that you were making available to be answered?
So it was on a not a smart sheet. It was a QR code. And so it was a Qualtrics link. And so the QR code, when they scanned that, so we did media stuff, we did e-blast, every meeting we went to, we provided the QR code. And when they scanned it, they could go one way or the other way. So they say, I'm a parent or I'm a community person. And then they would take that particular survey. And then Isabel said, where's the Spanish survey? And I said, dang it. So we went back to comms real quick and we developed a Spanish survey as well. And Isabel was able to kind of promote that a lot in the Hispanic.
Susie, we also used our local county health department.
Yes, we absolutely did that for them as well.
Because I'm from Weatherford, but I know I was part of the Know and Grow project.
Yes.
And so that was a huge circuit too, to be able to blast out QR codes at childcare centers, things like that. So they were using their local communities to reach the people that they were closest to. So it was a fun project too.
Know and Grow is awesome.
Very impressive, very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
And it's a lot of
more
work
to go.
It's a lot of work to keep it going, as you say, because, you know, everybody thinks, oh, just shelve it, and that was great.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
you gotta do something with it, yeah.
It's definitely gonna be a fluid word
sure.
document, and we will build upon
Mhm.
what we have. So if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, here's my contact information and my lovely staff that has helped me put this all together. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, by statute, this is an agenda item that we do need to vote on. And so I would entertain a motion on this action item. Motion and a second to approve the state plan. Any further discussion?
I would just add, I talked to Commissioner Reed about this earlier this week. I appreciate all of their work on it. I called them being relatively new, like, hey, shouldn't we be, why are you all doing this and not us? And kind of we walked through the history of it, but I appreciate their work. And we look forward at Human Services to being a partner in the effort, kind of moving forward and really working in tandem with Commissioner Reed and his team.
That's great. I also wanted to make a quick comment too. I feel like youth services, the Oklahoma Association of Youth Services needs to be involved in that work and the implementation of that plan. We work very closely with OJA as the prevention arm of OJA as contract partners. And so I've written down the date and the time, and we would love to be in participant. I'll make sure I get the information about that to our people so that we've got people there and we're working together in unity towards that. So.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions before we call vote? Okay, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartmill,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Bono,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
motion passes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna circle back up and I understand the person we have signed up for public comment is present now, so I'm gonna go back to agenda item number 2, which is public comment. We have one person signed up and I will turn the floor over. We have 3 minutes for a public comment presentation, so Richard Desiree, I'm gonna turn it over to you for the next 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate being given the opportunity. I was at a doctor's appointment, had to do this by Zoom, and thank you. I was at the OCCY meeting for forum. I was in Tom Kemper's office discussing in early 1980s the formation of Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth. I funded an agency, or I founded an agency in 1982. It was the first agency to contract with the Department of Mental Health for Children's Services, Tulsa Community Youth Homes. In 1993, I oversaw the implementation in 50 counties of the Terry D. Consent Decree for children in custody that were at risk of being taken out of the home and being brought back. We created, through Department of Mental Health, extensive mental health services for children. It relied on a variety of providers who all the codes that we changed over the next few years allowed Medicaid to fund the majority of the costs. with a state match. And about 15 years ago, the Department of Mental Health shifted direction. Independent licensed professionals, the behavioral health professionals in our state that have been trained, that are licensed, have continued to be minimalized in the provision of services to children. They have abandoned Medicaid clients. So half of the children in our state and almost all of the kids that are in state custody and that are going into courts and being in child welfare and the families that need services rely on Medicaid for their services. We need to relook at bringing back those Medicaid providers, licensed behavioral health practitioners throughout our state and get them serving these kids. The rate that was paid in 1995 was $75. It's paid at $76 now. In New Mexico, it's 120, and Texas over 110, Arkansas over 110. The reason that we don't pay more is because the department has moved towards CCBHCs, and they're funded extremely well, but there's very little use for the licensed providers except to oversee the aides and the case managers and the other many providers for which the state is paying like $1,000 a month per member. It is cheaper to go back to using licensed providers. We need to raise the rate. Also, the CCBHCs, which are providing all the mental health services in our state, or most of the mental health services, they're provided in every county, that through their contract, they can develop designated collaborating organizations with small agencies and other agencies that are embedded in the communities with 49% of their monies. They're not doing that. They've been able to do it very clearly since July 1 of this year. We need to bring our licensed professionals back as a voice and as knowledge. They're the ones that are trained in the trauma-informed care and competency care.
Richard, I just want to let you know we're at the 3 minutes. So do you want to have some closing? I want you to have time to speak, but I also want to honor our agenda and our policy.
Thank you. I work with 5 Black-owned behavioral health agencies that are in what we call the Greenwood Diaspora in our grant. The Department of Mental Health funds them with small grants. They can't survive. They come from the community. They want to contribute to the community, but they don't fit anymore. They can't compete with the CCBH that's gone in to provide those services. The CCBH needs to develop designated collaborating organizations with these agencies, and the state, the Department of Mental Health, and the Healthcare Authority need to raise the rates for those providers. Also, the health department needs to be involved. We can't consider the health of kids, the mental health of kids, without the overall health. Tulsa County has done a lot. We'd like for Tulsa County to house a director in that systems of care. The Department of Mental Health has been asked to fund that. We would like for the health department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Okay. I appreciate you coming on and joining us today.
I appreciate the opportunity to come back. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, I will go back down. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around on the agenda. I'm just trying to make sure we get everybody in and be respectful of time. So we're going to go back down to agenda item number 7, which is presentation and possible possible action on the finance report. I'll turn it over to Mahbub Al-Haq. Thank you so much, Mahbub.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mahbub Al-Haq, and I am serving as a business manager for the agency. It's an honor to be here to present the finance report for the first 4 months of the state financial year. This report not only provides the snapshot of our financial standings, but also reflect our collective efforts to ensure our financial responsibility and aligning our resources with the agency's goal. Let's dive into details and take a closer look where we stand and what it means for us forward. This is our snapshot of the financial year budget 2025. Total budget allocations are a little above the 5.9 million, and utilization for the 4 months up till October 31st is 1 million, and percentage utilization of the total budget is 17% up till now. If we see the 4 months of the budget, the 4 months of the budget is 1.9, little above the 1.9 million, and the total utilization against the 4-month budget is 52%. This is our detailed budget allocation and expense report against the summary of the account as per the account head course. Personal services 22%, travel expenses 18%, and if we go to the total, it's 17%. Our expenditure reflects the overall expected flow of the financial activities for the first 4 months. The lower utilization rate in some categories, such as general assistance, the last one, is due to the activities, timing of the planned activities that is later in the next in the year or third quarter of the financial year. So, and other some activities such as expenditures related to the CCAN conference, fatherhood conference. So the expenditure side is low, but overall it's expected flow as planned, as per the plan of our financial activities. So you can have just a quick look of the visual, how it looks like as per the summary of the expenditures. These are the detailed expense code expenditures and their percentages. It makes up again the 17% of the total and 52% of the year to date. If you see the department-wise performance or utilization, we are on track as per the overall planned activities. Administration is going to be at 87% of the 4 months budget, and there are little low expenditures in few departments, but again, that is related to the planned activity later in the financial year. And this is the department-wise allocation and expenditure status. If you see our trends, our monthly expenditures have gradually increased over the first quarter, with the October marking at the highest expenditures so far. The upward trends in the monthly expenditures indicate that we are progressing as scheduled with our planned activities. The variation across the month is due to the timing of payments and the other program-related expenses. This is our cash balance report, what we have in our pockets under different trust funds for the last financial year. $240,562 for the last financial year. We have cleaned up the POs and released the encumbrance. This amount will be going to the carry forward to the next financial year. So the current financial year has the balance of $173,318, and under the revolving fund we have $477,427. The total in total we have a sufficient cash that are sufficient for our fund flows. Overall, this presentation is based on the financial reports generated from Microsoft financials, and are included. These two detailed reports are included in the commissioner's packet. Overall, the key highlights, what's going on currently here in the finance. So we have completed we have received the reimbursement for the financial year 23 40 invoices, all done. We are in process for the financial year 24 invoicing that are underway. Hopefully it will be completed next month. Strategic plan and budget submissions has been submitted budget request for the 2026 submitted to the state for the state appropriations. Invoices and encumbrance that we have detailed review for the last year's invoices and release the encumbrance. We are ready for the budget revision that I mentioned the amount, almost a little above 200,000 for the financial year 2025. We have been regular meeting with the OMS and collaborating with discussing the financial reports on monthly basis. We discussed the last September report in detail. And we would like to update that the Sarah Vance, the financial manager previously assigned to our agency from the ABS, has left OMS. In her place, Megan Payton, interim financial manager, has volunteered and to assist us during this transitional period and providing support. She has been great in providing that support so far. To the conclusion, the financial compliance and overall, we are maintaining oversight to the payments and documentations to ensure budget compliance, financial responsibility, and resource efficiency. Thank you very much for the time. I'm happy to answer any if there's any questions and invite discussion and move for the tour of the finance.
Do we have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the finance report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartmill,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Taribono,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just wanted to real quick thank you, Maboo, for your work. You're so detailed. You do a great job of keeping a good eye on what we're doing. And I want to recognize him. He's recently he's representing Oklahoma nationally on Teresa that presented earlier. He's on her board as the treasurer now, representing Oklahoma. So thank you for your efforts and representing us well. We really appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8. I think that's where we are. And that is the presentation. This is an information item only. As Maboo mentioned, this has been turned in, but I want to give Mark some time to go over our 2026 final budget request. Thank you, Mark.
Good morning. So yes, this is a presentation to inform you of, I did a budget request presentation last meeting, but we have made some adjustments. So prior to our submitting our request, October 1st, we reviewed and had some conversations. We made some adjustments, so we just want to inform you of what those changes are. So I'm going to go over with you what the request is that our agency submitted. So our total request is going to be $651,000, $550. And these 3 items were all presented to you at our meeting last time. There was another sexual abuse prevention component that I presented that we have not included in our budget. So just as a reminder, our total state appropriations for last year was just over $3 million. So this new request would be a request of $3.6 million, which would be a 27% increase of state appropriations. If you'll recall from Maboo's presentation, our entire budget is $5.9 million. So this is just reflecting the state appropriations that we receive for program activities. So I'll go over these with you briefly. If you have any questions or comments, please share those. So the first request is for our parent partnership board coordinator. As you can see from Sonny's story and James' story in each meeting, the great work that our value we get from the parent partnership board. Our statute determines that we are to have this board to help guide us as an agency and you all in all other state services. So we get information and feedback from these valuable spokespersons. And this work that they have done has been truly valuable to us as an agency and many others of your work as well. The core to the Parent Partnership Board is someone to tie it all together. You have to have that person to make it all happen. And we've been greatly pleased with the work that Isabel Rodriguez, under the guidance of Danielle Dill, has provided to us over the years to make it a success. And we look forward to it continuing to be a success and a value to us as an agency and each of your agencies. The position that we've has been a partnership with the State Department of Health. They have partnered with us using some of their CBCAP funds and COVID-19 and ARPA relief funds for this past, for the first 5 years. But like most things, those COVID-19 ARPA funds are running out. And so we already are aware that the Department of Health is having to reduce those partnerships with several different entities. So we know that there's going to be a reduction of that in the coming year. The partnership is going to continue, but it's not going to be able to continue at the same level. So we feel that we need to, as an agency, go to the legislature and say this position is valuable, it provides a resource to us and to all of our programs. And so we're going to formally request that that position be covered under state appropriations. So we're going to ask for 95, I can't see the blue dot.
What's up in
The big number right there. $95,000 is our request to make the Parent Partnership Board a fully paid position within our agency. Also shared last time that we worked with OMES, examined our positions, examined our staff positions to identify some cost of living adjustments that we feel are necessary. And as I shared before you last time, we are an agency that doesn't provide any direct care services. We work with your agencies and other agencies that do that work. Therefore, the people that we need to be already experienced, trained, understanding how the systems work, understand policies and procedures of your agencies and other entities. Therefore, we need to attract folks who are already seasoned and experienced. And to that point also, we need to obviously retain the great talent that we already have. We feel like that it's important and it's time to make some efforts to implement some targeted salary increases for our staff. And so that request is $223,000 for this coming year. And then our final request is for the Office of Juvenile System Oversight. Again, as I said last time, in some senses, OJSO, our oversight, is the core perspective that the community has of us as an agency. We're responding to complaints, we're investigating facilities, ensuring that services are provided at an optimal level and the kids are safe and secure. Well, over the years, OGSO has been added responsibilities, added activities that they're expected to accomplish, but the necessary resources to go along with those added responsibilities haven't come along with them. So we've been undermanned for quite some time and trying to maintain as much best we can, responding to these complaints and providing the oversight. But we feel like it's time to make some changes and to make some awareness of the need. Obviously, there's lots of public information about some facilities and programs across the state that we feel like would have benefited had we had the opportunity to be involved and be more active. Therefore, we're asking for 3 positions for our Office of Juvenile System Oversight. And this request is going to tie into a legislative request that we're going to talk about here shortly. One of the aspects of this is several years ago, were removed from the ability to have open access to privately operated juvenile programs throughout the state. So now we can only respond to specific complaints. We go and investigate that specific issue. So we're requesting that some legislative change to open up that opportunity for the agency as well. And this, in order to do that and to do what we currently do well, we need some significant increases in support with the Office of Juvenile System Oversight. In addition to that, we are asking specifically for a program manager or director of that particular program to help provide some guidance and provide some needed administrative roles and planning within that department. So we are asking for $330,000 for this position. So that does accumulate to our entire request of $6,551 for this coming year. And again, we're just presenting this to you because this is a change from what we presented to you last meeting, and just want to make you all aware.
Thank you,
If you
Mark.
have any questions or comments, we'll be happy to respond to those.
Are there any questions? Okay, hearing no questions. Thank you for the presentation, Mark. I appreciate it. Okay, next we get to do something super easy. It's agenda item number 9, and it's just the presentation and approval of the commission meeting dates. Does anybody have any conflicts or recommendations to the meeting dates proposed within your packet? And would anybody like to make a motion to approve the proposed meeting dates for 2025?
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartmill,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry Bono,
Yes.
Judge Warren.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair, were we supposed to do was that supposed to be a vote on the budget presentation?
No,
It will come up later.
it was not a vote, so
Okay.
there's history on that. We've submitted the budget and I can catch up with you. Okay. But no, thank you, guys. Okay, next on the agenda is agenda item number 10, proposed legislative agenda for commission approval. We've got a number of items on here and I will turn it over to Marcia Johnson, our legislative liaison, to detail those 5 items.
Good morning, everyone. There are 5 items for your consideration. And the first ties into the Office of Juvenile System Oversight, which Mark kind of provided the context for. So, and we don't have all of the language on all of these nailed down, but these are concepts, which is in the past what you've approved us to move forward with. So the first bill will clarify that OJSO has the authority to conduct a routine inspection of privately operated children's facilities. And again, I don't think that the intent was that there's a 100.
Approximately 110.
110. And even if we're successful in getting 3 additional FTE, I don't think that equates into routine inspections of all those additional facilities. It just reopens that door for the office to be able to go into those facilities. Right now, my understanding is they can only go in if they receive a complaint.
Can you give us an example of what some of those facilities would be, just so the commissioners have a better understanding?
The Greer Center, possibly?
Well, the Greer Center, respond. So the Greer Center was an example, so but mostly that's an adult provided services, but if there were juveniles there, which DHS has placed kids there, we were able to attend. So it's every facility that contracts with OJA, Human Services, Environmental Health Services. So we have the multiple level group homes at OJA.
It's the group homes generally.
Largely group homes, but this does apply to detention centers.
Or even jails. If we had a kid in jail, we could.
Yeah, so it's essentially any residential facility that is not state operated, is what we're talking about.
And it might help to explain, there are only 6 state operated places that we go into routinely. And so what's the difference? It's 100 and, I don't know.
It fluctuates, but it's about 110 or so private. These are inpatient facilities, hospitals, group homes, so it's.
Contracted.
When we were created, obviously, most of those were state operated or state funded entities, but as decades have gone by, they've all contracted, so.
And to be clear, with the few staff that we have, there's no way we're gonna make annual visits to all those places, and that is not necessarily our intent. But what we do get is people who will, they will articulate a very generalized concern. And like, we can't just go out on that. And in the past, before 2009, we could. And so that's kind of what we're wanting. We're really not interested in going to visit well-run places to poke around. more interested in the grumblings we hear from the field, but no one is calling us either because they're scared or they don't know enough. And we feel like we're missing opportunities to be helpful in perhaps shoring up facilities before we have something that's tragic and in the media. And unfortunately, it seems like sometimes we're like last on the scene because we learn about something through the media and we're like, that's missed opportunity. So that's why we're there. We're really not trying to make good operations overburdened or to make people nervous that they have way more hands and feet in their places than they can deal with. We're really just interested in being able to get out and assure that things are going the way they should be.
So you had this authority before 2009, you say?
Well, so our understanding is, the way it was interpreted was absolutely yes. And in 2009, they changed some language and the practices at this agency were then changed because of the language change.
So it was actually a language change and not an interpretation change?
It was both. I think the language there now is awfully muddy. The original and the one now. But the way it's been interpreted and the practices that have gone with both sets of those languages, we could go in before, and since 2009, we can't without a complaint. So we'd like to make it perfectly clear, if we can change it, that we can go out on concerns to both public and private without a complaint.
So any idea of why it changed? Were there circumstances of some kind?
I've heard a lot of different reasons, but I'm not sure if any one of them are correct, so I'm not gonna say it. But you know, I think part of it is, and again, and I think this is why I'm saying, if you're a very solid operation, there's really not a lot of need for us to go out there. And I understand that there are so many inspections and so many credentialing processes and all of the licensing that, you know, some people would question, like, why do we need them out there too? For one reason, I think one thing that's really unique about OCCY is we can look at all of those reports all together collectively and have a very big picture. And most agencies can't. They're looking at their slice of what they do, what they license for, what they credential for, and then they're out. But we can look at the fire marshal report in conjunction with looking at the licensing or any kind of logs about incidents or their personnel. We can look at it all. We can look at budgets. And statute allows us to do that, but we can't now look at those items without a complaint. And a specific complaint. We can't just go out because there's a bad feeling about this place.
What we're talking about is privately operated facilities only.
No, we're talking about the ability to go back, because we can do
Right.
that now with private, or public, yes.
So we're talking about private.
Correct.
Contracted with the state.
Contracting with the state.
So is there not a provision in the contracts with the state that would require or authorize what we're talking about right now?
There is not. And I'm not sure if you change the language in the contract that would really work, because the statute, at least as it interpreted now, is we have to wait for a complaint.
And who licenses group homes? I know we don't license group homes.
Depending on what kind of group home, it could be Department of Human Services
So it's
or
just not
Office of
child care
Juvenile
license?
Affairs. Yeah.
That's the only thing. Okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Are you gonna vote on all of these at once or
No,
individually?
we have to do them individually. Concepts, we're just voting on the concept.
Yes.
So we can talk about all of them, then come back, or we can talk about this one and then.
Why don't we
what's the
do
best way
what-
to do it?
Seems like the best way to do one at a time. Let's just knock them out as we go. So is there any other questions or
I have
discussion?
one
Go
follow-up
ahead.
question. So concept we're approving or denying, at what point will we see actual language?
Good question.
So, filing deadline for the ideas, December 6th. We'll have another meeting and what did we vote on today? January 17th or 24th? At any point in time, we're gonna keep you updated. So if you don't like something or you want us to amend it, and we should be working in tandem with you outside of this meeting if it is in your arena, by all means. I mean, I've been on the other end of someone changing a statute where I didn't know about it and being surprised. I don't like that myself. And I wanna work in tandem with any group, and we may or may not always agree on something, right? But in the end, I think the commissioners, I'll tell you, since you're new, the way I've operated since I've been here is if we don't have the majority of commissioners supporting something, we don't move forward with it, even if Annette Jacoby really would love to. Because this is a combination of work, and a lot of people with a lot of different perspectives have to come to some middle ground to agree on it, or it makes it awkward for us to do anything. And so that's the way we've worked. So if at any point you dislike a bill or we can't come to an agreement, we would pull it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Commissioner, I would just add, so the bill request deadline is December 6th, which is a little bit earlier this year than it usually is. And all of the bills that we're talking about now, the concepts, none of these are very difficult. So they're gonna be pretty simple to put together. I mean, I've already started putting them together, but obviously needed to wait for your approval, and then whatever means Annette and Mark choose, can send out the drafts to everybody or the legislative committee, however they want to do it. Thank you.
Any questions?
I would move to approve this concept be added to the legislative agenda. I think it's generally better to have more eyes in these facilities looking out for kids than less, so.
Appreciate it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing that, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Hartman,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry Bono,
Yes.
Yes.
Warren.
Passes.
Fantastic. Okay. Number 2.
Okay, number 2, last year, there was a bill that was passed that required a parent or guardian be included in any digital or electronic communication between the school employee and the student, unless it's on some approved platform, and I don't understand any of that. So we're just talking about like texting or whatever. And a few weeks ago, we got a call from the McKinney-Vento liaison in Lawton. And the McKinney-Vento liaisons are there because of federal law passed when Reagan was president, that deals with identifying homeless students, homeless families, and working with them to get services that they need. Anyway, this lady called and she said, hey, you know, we've got a student who's unaccompanied and homeless, and they're enrolled, but this law doesn't allow us to designate an alternate adult, which is what I'm calling it. So these young people are already vulnerable. And so the thought was that we needed to set up a mechanism to allow another adult to be included in that communication between the school employee and the student. And we have a draft. What we've come up with right now is it could be an administrator, it could be the McKinney-Vento liaison, or it could be shelter intake.
Shelter or transition.
Anyway, that's where I don't have the specific, but it would be like a pivot or CSU, somebody like that, a case manager. Just so we can have an adult included in those messages. And that can't be done right now because that wasn't even thought of when they were drafting it last year.
If we included the word caregiver, would that give us the authority you're looking for?
I don't know.
It says parent or guardian right now.
We were trying to be broad. I mean, it's hard to, you know, narrow this down.
Yeah, I don't think the word caregiver will work because the population we're looking for are kiddos who truly have no caregiver. They have no responsible adult that is voluntarily in their life or that is familial or has a legal ability to assist them. So we're looking for someone who's affiliated with a known reputable organization, another school administrator, a caseworker at a shelter where the child may be residing, but they don't have another person to sign off. And my guess is this is gonna be rare, because I don't think school teachers, school personnel are texting kids routinely anyway to say, hey, don't forget your jersey. I mean, they may or may not. But, you know, coaches do this from time to time, like everyone be at the bus at 7:15, right? And the idea was mom and dad or whoever that child lives with will also get this text, which is great. These kids may be living at another location. They may be couch surfing, or they may be living at some kind of a homeless shelter. We're not talking about being in state custody. Yeah, they're not in state custody. So we're talking about kids that are truly on their own.
What about just an authorized additional school personnel?
That is one of those people, yes.
I would be very careful using, and this is gonna sound a little bit on the crazy side, but be real careful using another school personnel, because I'm dealing with a case right now in one of my counties where we've got multiple coaches who were abusing the students, and the administration was aware of it and just overlooked it. And I think what we're trying to do here is to ensure that any communication between a teacher and a student is not over the line.
Correct.
So I would be real careful with structuring that in such a way that we've got one school and all the personnel inside that school are the ones that are getting this information.
That's actually a really good thought.
The thing to keep in mind too, though, is the McKinney-Vento liaison is a school employee. It's that person's role, they're kind of like a case manager, social worker type person. So they're also a school employee, but I don't know, they're the ones that are aware of these kids.
A lot of schools now have school resource officers. I would be much more comfortable with a school resource officer being the one that's in that loop than somebody that's actually on the payroll and being paid by the school system. Even though that school resource officers a lot of times can be paid by the school, that money's going to go through the law enforcement agency. So you got somebody that's separate and detached from that system and that issue.
So you wouldn't want the McKinney-Vento liaison to be one of those options?
I guess, I mean, maybe just call me as jaded. I've just seen too many situations where people are willing to just kind of overlook stuff. And you might even find a situation where there's a law enforcement official to do it, but I think it'd be a whole lot harder for that officer in a school to overlook this, because they're there to actually protect the students in a little bit different role than anybody else.
I love that too, because some of the McKinney-Vento designated people don't even know they've been designated. We've heard from time to time. So they're written down on paper and turned in, but they may or may not know they have that role. And there is no criteria for them to have been specially trained that I'm aware of. They're doing it as an add-on benefit to the agencies. I love that suggestion.
So it'd be a school resource officer or going back to the shelter potential where the child is living.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
It's not every school has an SRO.
Right.
Yeah, but the majority do, that would cover, right?
My understanding from being over at the legislature yesterday, talking about this is, I think the language in that bill is creating quite a lot of angst and confusion. So it looks like they're gonna probably try to revamp it anyway. But we'll just have to monitor it, and we just don't want to lose sight of this population of kids, that there needs to be something for them.
Any other questions? Anyone would like to make some sort of motion on item number 2?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it, subject to, ensuring that other personnel is not somebody that's connected to the school. I mean, my suggestion would be very strong that it be a school resource officer or somebody designated in that role at the school.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartwell,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hibbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Taribono,
Yes.
Judge Warren.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Perfect. Commissioner Hicks, thank you for your insight on that.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3.
Number three, this was previously discussed. So what we need to, in 2015, Title 10 was amended to allow OCCY to initiate a referral of a case or an investigation to the OSBI. But the language in Title 74 that governs OSBI was not correspondingly amended. So this is just kind of cleanup language. I've spoken to individual at OSBI. He's Brant Elmore. Yes, he's the general counsel. We had a great visit, and they're in support of this, and he gave some suggestions on drafting, so I think we're okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartwell,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Taribono,
Yes.
Judge Warren.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Number 4.
Number 4 is to amend the statute to clarify the role and responsibilities of the freestanding multidisciplinary teams. I think I can just turn it over to Brittany, the program manager. She can explain the context of this and of number 5,
And of
the
number
administrative
5.
rules.
So the way the statute is written,
Brittany, could you,
I'm so sorry.
You see it on the Zoom.
So the way the statute is written, some of the language that is used is a little misleading. That it implies that the purpose of the team is that you have a group of 5 disciplines that when there's a call in that says the child has there's an allegation of child abuse, that these 5 people all converge and go out and investigate this case. And that is not the purpose of a MDT at all. Their purpose is that once an allegation has been made, they come together and meet and review the investigation in a staffing meeting and discuss the investigation and what steps need to be taken next to ensure the safety and well-being of the child and how the services available in the community are being utilized, where service gaps are, how are we utilizing joint investigation, et cetera, and so on. So what we'd like to do is see about cleaning up that language to ensure that the statute actually reflects what the role and responsibility is of the team, and then includes how we're collecting and utilizing the data that the team reports on. And then the second part, which is the administrative rules. Again, we have some processes in there that we're using that we've changed during COVID as far as case review goes, that we have continued to use for the review process that actually is working really well as far as the document review part of it. We've actually split the review process into 2 separate parts, that we have a document review and then we have an on-site review that we would like to go ahead and have that reflected in the administrative rules to show that we're doing that as 2 things. We would like to incorporate peer review as part of the on-site review and actually use that as site review will be an either or on alternate years, that a team will either have an official on-site review by OCCY staff or they will participate in a peer review to give us a little bit. We now have 40 teams from Guyman all the way to Adair County, which is a lot of miles to cover, to give us the opportunity to actually be able to do all of the site reviews and be able to hit all of the teams in that period of time.
I just want to make a comment. In the opening statute for the MDTs, it uses the word that the MDTs will intervene in investigations. And we don't intervene. We staff these cases. We are not law enforcement. And we're not child welfare workers. And we want to be very clear so that there's no misunderstanding by anybody that when there is a joint investigation, it is between two parties, not all five of those disciplines. It is between law enforcement and child welfare. Mental health and the physical, the medical person, and who am I forgetting out of that? And the district attorney are not involved in that joint investigation. It's between two very specific parties. All five of those disciplines, though, come together to do two things, and that is to assure that the investigation is moving forward and no balls are dropped, no stone is unturned. And secondly, that the child and family are receiving the appropriate services that they need. So I think the wording makes it sound confusing. And if you didn't understand the practice, I can see why people think that these people go out together, but there's no physician that's jumping up on a call and going out with these folks. And I want to make it very clear in that statute that that is not the intent. So that's why we're doing some of these things so that we can really make sure that an outside party understands the roles.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Anyone like to make a motion?
I have a quick comment. I serve on our MDT team, so I think that that's a good clarification as far as going out. And I do like that we're putting those in there. It's a very confidential, it's very similar to PARB. You're staffing very confidential cases. You can't have the community there to staff those. So their understanding of what happens in those meetings is very slim. So I think the clearer we can be in the statute, the better as far as that goes. So I move to approve with the language.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Are we gonna get to see the drafts?
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartmel,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry Bono,
Yes.
Judge Warren.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Perfect, thank you. And last, number 5.
Same explanation, only this is in the administrative code. Making amendments to the administrative code for the legislature's approval or disapproval.
Questions on number 5? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
Director Cartmel,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurth,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry Bono,
Yes.
Judge Warren.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Perfect. All right. Marcia, thank you so much for your efforts in this space, and thank you, Commissioner. That was a lot, to work through each of those individually, but I appreciate the conversation and the work. Okay, next we'll move on to agenda item number 9, presentation of the Post Adjudication Review Board Program Review, and I'll turn it over to Keith Bertle.
Everybody, good to see you again. I'm excited to share about our fairly unique program housed at the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth, Oklahoma's Post Adjudication Review Boards, volunteers supporting, protecting, and monitoring the deprived court system. Hope you drill that into your brain. That's our little slogan. Kind of explains what we do. So first, let me just talk a little bit about the child welfare system. I think we all are pretty familiar with the concept of child welfare in the juvenile court in this room, obviously. The state has a right and a responsibility to protect children that have been found to be in abusive and neglectful home environments. And of course, the court system is set up to address that. And I think most of us understand too that in Oklahoma, the child welfare system is quite large and quite complex. On average, there's roughly, in one day in state fiscal year 24, there's 5,840 kids in child welfare custody and care. On average, and I looked at a couple different statistics, but generally kids on median stay in custody for about 18 months. So that's a lot of kids, that's a lot of time in care. Obviously, our court system is very complex, and I've driven around the state, and I know some of you have personal experience too with juvenile court across the state. You have multiple players, assistant district attorneys, parent attorneys, children's attorneys, child welfare specialists, judge, all of these, many in, very rural areas. I was in a courtroom or a court house this week and met the judge, and she said, I've been doing divorces for 20 years and I've been doing juvenile court for 2 years now, and I think that's fairly typical. We have a lot of assistant district attorneys that are straight out of OU Law School. I hear that joke all over the state too. It's like, this is where we train our district attorneys in juvenile court. And of course, the critical nature of the work, I think we can all understand that it's very important, we live in fear of returning children back to the home when the home's not safe, or the opposite, removing children and keeping them away from parents that are ready to have them back. So what if you had a group of trained and supported volunteer citizens that were in every judicial district that met regularly to monitor deprived docket cases in the communities where they live and make recommendations to the presiding judge in child welfare? Wouldn't that be cool if we had something like that? Well, we do. It's called the Post Adjudication Review Boards. And they were established in 1981 to be in every judicial district. And then in 1983, the State Post Adjudication Review Board was created. Anyone tell me when the commission started? What year? It doesn't work here. 83, right. So PARB was one of the initial programs. Actually, it was started at the Administrative Office of the Courts when it's first housed. And then, of course, those are our Title 10 and Title 10A statutes that kind of say what we do as the Post Adjudication Review Boards. Really just have that down as a reference. But basically, in a nutshell, what the boards can do is they can review any record related to the case that they're reviewing. Usually case files, usually pull case files from the court clerk's office and review those well there. Usually in a law library or a jury room or something like that. And they can talk to anybody affiliated with the case as well, all for the purpose of making a recommendation. Our statutes are very clear that our boards serve in an advisory role to the court. They have authority to review the cases. They have the authority to talk to whoever they want. Ultimately, as I think we as well pretty much know in this room, it's the judge that's making those final determinations. So the boards, the volunteer boards are in good faith making recommendations, but they are in an advisory capacity. So once they create a recommendation, they submit it to the presiding judge, child welfare, and all parties to the case. And I always argue too, when I'm out in the field and see this happening, we're training child welfare specialists as much as anything with these recommendations and letting them know what resources are in the communities, validating what they, what the decisions they've made and that sort of thing. And staff do not write those recommendations, just to be clear on that. As a matter of fact, the staff of the Post Adjudication Review Board who are exercising, well, it's really small print way over here, oversight responsibility, may observe but not participate in board meetings. Obviously, I attend meetings to train, provide technical assistance. I'm not at all involved in writing those recommendations. Annette, did you have?
Can I make a point of clarification?
Sure.
Just because this is such a open and public meeting. I want to make sure that the PARBs are not there to validate the child welfare workers. They may also critique or counter something that they've said. So they may, and it might be great, but they may also challenge them. So they're not there to validate 100% of the time. And I just wanted to point that out.
Sure,
Sorry.
yeah, and I'm sorry if I get that impression. They're there to review the case.
Correct.
And a lot of times they're looking for problem areas and they often find them. Maybe the siblings aren't placed together. Maybe there's some other things that they're a little concerned about that are going on that they're going to highlight. I just tell them too, if they see something that they think is going well, it's okay to say that.
Correct.
Yeah. That's kind of what I meant. So what the recommendation really does, it identifies and highlights concerns regarding the case, basically what I said, making suggestions for changes and, maybe also say that we like this part of the ISB, this part kind of is a little more concerning. I kind of put an example in there. I know it's kind of wordy, but just so you kind of see what an example might look like of one of our recommendations, due to this behavior, we're concerned that this is happening or, something to that effect. So, the purpose of the PARB, they serve as an objective citizen witness to the juvenile court system. And again, that's all over the statutes and other states are very similar too. The whole concept is a citizen volunteer, part of the community who can serve as a witness and a way to kind of see what's going on in the court and be serve in that capacity. Obviously, I've got some folks that have been on PARB boards for 20 years and they know the resources and they can pick up the phone and get people, access to services really quickly. They're there to promote permanence, encourage and support best practices and just general oversight and guidance to child welfare judges and foster parents. What cases are reviewed? I'm gonna have to look at this screen. I can't quite see that one. By statute, we're supposed to review every adjudicated case in Oklahoma every 6 months. I don't think PARB's ever had enough volunteers to actually make that happen. We've got about 286 volunteers right now. If we need about 600 or more to make that actually happen. And every case that's alleged to be, that's in and out of home placement, that's alleged to be deprived, and ICPC cases, state interstate compact cases as well. That's certainly an area we try to keep an eye on as well. So how do we do that? This is kind of our capacity. So we've got me as a full-time state employee as a program manager, and I also work with our state PARB and help set the agenda and work with that group. I do a lot of community training, technical assistance. I like to get on the highway and help try to get new PARBs going. That's one of my favorite parts of my job. Shelby sitting over here. Shelby, you want to wave? She's been with us about 5 months now as our new Oklahoma County PARB coordinator. So she's mainly responsible for those 7 boards in Oklahoma County, helping support those. But she also is our point person on our outreach efforts as well. And then Milena Hasmanis is a contract. We have a contract with the Juvenile Bureau out of Tulsa to manage those boards as well. So that's kind of our staff capacity, our volunteer capacity. Like I said, we've got 286 volunteers statewide. Last fiscal year, we reviewed 1,562 cases. And they submit their volunteer hours and we get 4E money for that as well. So that's 7,000 hours that they contributed with 44 boards statewide. Obviously we'd like, so this is kind of our map, judicial districts here. Gray is, I don't know how much you can see on the colors, but gray areas where we do not have a PARB at all. For example, the Panhandle, we don't have a PARB at all. But we certainly would like to do that. Almost went to Guyman on Monday for 111 project kicked off, but I had to prepare this, so I didn't go. So quickly just quit working. So if you know, oh, there we go. So just to mention our state board, it basically, it's legislative mandated, just like the local boards, with 23 members on there, pretty much all of them governor appointed, 5 judges, several foster parent folks, and then someone from OJA and DHS as well. Their 2 main functions are oversee the program and to identify and address systemic issues around the juvenile court. I wanted to tell you real quick about our new credentialing process we're rolling out right now, kind of following the role model of the multidisciplinary teams. Our statutes are pretty broad as far as we're supposed to be reviewing cases, like I said, and which cases we're supposed to review. You know, as I would go out in the community, kind of wanted to set figure out what standard best practices are, kind of get those on paper. This is a way to kind of train to those best practices. And in cases where boards maybe are not functioning at the level that they should, you know, maybe look at revamping them or do a different thing. So as part of that, we have a scoring sheet. Basically has some yes, no questions on there. You know, questions like, do you have the minimum of 5 members? Either you do or they don't. If they don't, we need to address that. There we go. So we have a formal rollout timeline. We're going to go out and do the assessment starting in January, score the sheets, give that feedback to them, bring that to our state PARB, and then ultimately bring it to you guys for final approval. And I've been training all the PARB volunteers in the last month over this, which really to me is kind of accomplishing the goal right there anyway. Identify the best practices, tell them what the best practices are, and say, we're going to check back and make sure you're doing this. I mean, these are volunteers, and I don't want to be too, you know, hard on them. And back in my old days, I used to have contracts with people, and if they didn't do what I wanted, took their money away. I can't do that anymore. You know, we do have a soft hand, but we do have some expectations that we need to meet. And honestly, they've been responding pretty positively. I think people want clarification and accountability. Just to mention, while I got you guys captive right here, we rolled out our online data system a few years ago, and that's been huge. It used to be a handwritten recommendation that was copied and turned into the court. We couldn't aggregate that data. We couldn't see those recommendations. We couldn't see any trend data. We couldn't look at anything, basically. So now that we've rolled over to this data system, it's been hugely helpful. That's a screenshot of kind of what it looks like. It's a good way to manage the cases as well. Some of my volunteers just love using the computer all the time now too. So those are some of the things that we've kind of been enhancing the last few years, really kind of pushing this new credentialing process is rolling out now. The database, after 40 years, we're finally electronic with PARB. We've been expanding our outreach. That's one reason why Shelby's heading up our outreach efforts, is because I think that's going to cover a lot of sins. If we had a lot more people and we're a lot more known, we could do a lot more work. And without that, we can't. Boards can only review so many cases with so many people, especially in the more populous. I mean, they might get them all in Atoka County, but you know, Canadian County is not going to hit them all unless we have several boards there. So that's some of our challenges and priorities: is recruiting volunteers, engaging the judiciary. We got some real judge champions out there, and we got others who aren't quite there yet. And enhancing the quality of our recommendations and establishing new boards. So, questions? Thoughts?
Any questions? Thank you for the overview. Really appreciate it. Okay, I think next on the agenda is agenda item number 8, which is the executive director's report. I will turn it over to you.
I did submit a written report. Sorry it was late. There's just a lot going on. So that was kind of last minute, but I apologize for that. I do want to highlight a few things. First and foremost, we are lucky to have some new staff joining us. I will introduce today Amarina Killo. And Amarina is our new cross systems coordinator. And I just want to say thank you to the agencies that financially support that position. It's huge. It's not a position that we take care of here. And I want to continue to say how much we appreciate, our budget would be half of what it is without the support of you. And it's a big deal, and we really honor why you give that to us and try to do our best and meet the goals that you've set in front of us. And I really appreciate it. So Amarina, yay, thank you for making us look good. I wrote up a little bit about her in your report. She has a very impressive background that she's bringing to us. And I will highlight another new person that we have, but today she's in Carter County doing work with her team. That's Lucia Mesquita, and we stole her away from the Department of Human Services. Sorry about that, but she's darling. She comes with a great skill set that we desperately needed, and so we're so happy to have her join the Office of Juvenile Systems Oversight. So look forward to having her as well. And I want to tell you, I put this in the report, and I'm sure you read it word for word. I'm very excited about the language diversity that we have here at OCCY in so many different ways. And you may say, why is she writing that on their bios? Because I think it is so important that we're able to communicate well with the people we serve and the people we're trying to connect with. And Amarina, I'm not sure how often we're gonna run into there you go, yes. But you know what? We might, because we do have a Filipino representation in the state of Oklahoma. And I just think it's so important, the languages that we are able to connect with in this agency. So both of those new hires provide us with new languages on site. We are also happy to announce that we have 2 interns that are working with us this semester and hopefully again next semester. They are the paid interns with the Child Death Review Board. And these are with funds from the Michigan Public Health Institute, a grant that we received, and Cameron Ford, who is a grad student at the OU College of Public Health. We're happy to have her, as well as Oyen Akuya. And Oyen comes to us, she is a PhD candidate in sociology at OU. So we have 2 stellar people with data analytics experience that we don't have, and we're just stoked. And so if you haven't had a chance to read about their little bios, please do that too. It is in the report. And then other than that, I want to highlight 2 activities. First and foremost, I did put this in the report, but it's huge, and I want to explain it if you didn't quite understand what I wrote. Child Death Review Board for many, many years had one person. A huge backlog occurred, and it just kept getting worse and worse each year as we had only one person. And with the help of the new appropriations so that we could hire additional staff, we've been able to chip away at that backlog. We focused on 2022 data, and we were able to close all of those cases with the exception of one. And that is something that we can't close yet because the records are involved in an ongoing criminal investigation. So we're gonna just consider 2022 with 299 cases closed with the exception of that one. We will be able to use that as a baseline from this point on for annual data sets that will hopefully in the future be able to show us trends, changes, all kinds of things. Because what you saw in the past, the deaths that were represented in those annual reports were from multiple years. And we could have said, hey, let's knock out all of the car wrecks, motor vehicle deaths, because generally those are pretty, the records are easy to get, and we're able to close those cases fairly quickly. So it might look like we had an unbelievable number of car wrecks in that given year if you didn't understand that those deaths occurred in maybe 5 different years. And you never really could say, did car wrecks kill more kids this year, that year, the next? We're gonna start doing that so that it makes sense and we can all utilize that data. We had a caveat, a disclaimer in the report, but I doubt anyone ever read it or understood it. So from this point on, you won't have to understand that nuance, and we'll be able to show you deaths in a given year and what that data tells us. So I don't know if you know what a big deal that is, but it's tremendous. It's tremendous. And so I can't thank CDRB enough, their staff enough, and the boards, because the staff don't review these cases. They do all the hard prep work. but it's those boards that review it. So when they make quorum and they spend their time doing that, that's what makes a difference. Because we can prep cases all day long, but if they don't have quorum and people aren't willing to volunteer their time on these boards, the work wouldn't get done. So it's really a joint effort, but those boards are huge. And then secondly, an item that we put up on our agenda last time, and you didn't see it on this one, was an ad hoc committee for the office to do some work on and perhaps revise policies or look at the way we do business around the Office of Juvenile Systems Oversight. And we didn't put it on there because I think that's something we want to roll out in January, and we need to put some thought into it. But I am going to be reaching out to you, and in particular, if you have a space with juvenile justice or child welfare in any way, shape, or form. But we need to bring together not only the influencers, the policy influencers of that, and experts in the field, perhaps in academia, but we also need to talk about parent voice and the people who've been parts of those systems and what they think that they would have liked to have seen. And so while I definitely want an ad hoc group of commissioners, I would love it more if there was a way to involve you with other stakeholders or your representatives. And so look for that to come out to the new year, but I think it needs more thought in how we're gonna go about that. But if you recall, at least this is the only history I know, when I started in 2017, we had departments with 0 or 1 persons. And that has improved. The area that didn't have 0 or 1 person was OJSO. So they have not had a lot of support to improve their work, to get added staff. And if you notice, this year we're asking for additional staff. It's the first time we've asked for additional staff. And it may not seem like a big difference, but when you have a department with 0 and a department with 7, you kind of think you need to work on 0. So I think we're in a point now where we can go back and think about what is useful to the agencies we honestly serve. You are our customers if we had customers, because we don't provide direct care. We are supposed to be supporting you in your efforts in developing and maintaining and improving quality services for kids. So it's time to take a look at that and see what makes sense. I think there's a lot of good that department does, a lot of good. And I loved your comment about more eyes, all the better. And that's the way we view it too. We also don't want to be seen as, oh my God, here they come again. There may be a reason why we're coming back again, but there may not be. And I think we need to really make that make sense and make the work that we do timely and useful to you as the owners of those systems. So work with us, tell us what you think would make sense. We're all ears, and we have thick skin. Believe it or not, we have thick skin. You can tell us this is not working, this is ridiculous, we don't need this, or this isn't the way to do it. And there may be times we may not agree on how something should work. And I'm good with all of that. So know that the door is open. And then I'm going to close with saying that my door is always open. I so appreciate the ability to find you and reach out to you. And I know I've said that to some of you individually, but it makes a tremendous difference when I can pick up a phone or text you or email you and say, please call, please call. So much of the work we do, this is 2 hours every other month or so, kind of routinely. I so love the ability to find you when I need you about specific issues. And I want to thank you for your time and your responsiveness so very, very much. And so with that, I'll end. I'm happy to answer any questions about my written report. Otherwise, I'm concluded.
Okay, thank you, Annette. Director Jacoby.
That's fine.
Are there any questions for Director Jacoby? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to agenda item number 14, which is announcements. Do we have any announcements? I have one real quick. We're having every year at Youth and Family, we do an annual Thanksgiving lunch. It's next Monday from 11 to 1. If anybody's in the area, I know some of you live all across the state, but it's just our way to thank the community, thank Oklahoma and anybody who works with kids for your service. So if you'd like to come out, it's come and go from 11 to 1, and we just host people for lunch. So it's in our shelter. We set up tables in there. So you all would definitely be invited. Are there any other announcements? Okay, I'll move on to agenda item number 15, chairperson remarks. Just have a few quick things I want to say, or actually just one, I shared one of them. I want to thank, we've got some people rotating off the commission, 3 right now. So Brad Wilson, Jennery Harrington, and Brenda Myers are all getting ready to roll off. So I just want to thank them for their service. I know it takes a lot of time to drive across the state and make this a priority for kids. So just want to extend that thank you. I don't have any other comments, so I believe that's the last thing.
It is.
Okay. I will call us adjourned at 11:56.